I returned from military after 3 years, and my wife asked, "Who are you?" I stood in the doorway with my duffel bag. 3 years. 3 years of desert heat and cold nights. 3 years of counting days until I could come home to Sarah. She was in the kitchen. Same blonde hair. Same blue eyes I'd dreamed about every night in that hell. But when she turned and saw me standing there, her face went blank. Confusion. Then something worse. Fear. "Who are you?" I laughed. Thought she was joking. Some kind of welcome home prank. "It's me. It's David." She stepped back. Her hand went to her phone on the counter. "I don't know who you are, but you need to leave before I call the police." My stomach dropped. The smile died on my face. "Sarah, it's me. Your husband." She stared at me like I was a stranger. Like I was dangerous. Like I was nothing. "My husband is dead." The words hit me like a bullet. "What?" "David died 2 years ago. I got the letter. I buried him. Now get out of my house before I call 911. I looked past her into the living room. Something was wrong. Everything was wrong. New furniture. Different curtains. Photos on the wall I didn't recognize. A man's jacket hanging on the coat rack that wasn't mine. "Sarah, what's going on?" "I've been deployed. I've been writing you letters every week. I never got any letters. And my husband is dead." Her voice was rising now. Panicked. "I don't know who you are or what kind of sick game this is, but you need to leave right now." My hands were shaking. I reached for my wallet. Pulled out my military ID. Look at the picture. It's me, David Morrison. Your husband." She wouldn't come closer. Wouldn't look. Then I heard footsteps upstairs. Heavy. Male. A man appeared at the top of the stairs. Tall, maybe 40, expensive watch, polo shirt. He looked at me, then at Sarah. "Everything okay, babe? Babe." The word cut through me like a knife. "Call the police," Sarah said, her voice tight. "This man broke into our house." Our house. I stared at them. Sarah pressed against this stranger. His hand on her shoulder. Protective. Possessive. The ring on her finger caught the light. Not the one I'd given her. A different ring. Bigger. Newer. She'd moved on. She'd remarried. "I'm leaving," I said quietly. My voice didn't sound like mine. "But Sarah, I'm your husband. I'm David Morrison. And I'm not dead." The man started down the stairs. "You need to go now, buddy, or—" I was already walking out. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Got to my truck parked on the street. Sat in the driver's seat. Stared at the house I'd bought 6 years ago with Sarah. The house I'd left to serve my country. The house that wasn't mine anymore. I sat there for 20 minutes. Hands shaking. Heart pounding. 3 years. 3 years of hell. Firefights. IEDs. Watching friends die. Every moment thinking about coming home. About Sarah. About holding her again. And she'd buried me. Married someone else. Forgot I existed. My phone buzzed. My brother, Marcus. "David? Holy shit, you're finally back. When did you land? Why didn't you call me? I'm outside the house." My voice came out flat. "Dead." Sarah doesn't recognize me. Silence on the other end. "What do you mean she doesn't recognize you?" "She said I'm dead. That she buried me 2 years ago. There's another man living in my house, Marcus. She's remarried." More silence. Then, "Stay there. Don't move. I'm coming right now." Marcus showed up 30 minutes later in his old Chevy. He pulled up behind my truck and got out. Took one look at my face, and his expression changed. "Jesus Christ, David. You look like you've seen a ghost." "I feel like one." I couldn't stop staring at the house. What the hell happened while I was gone? He got in the passenger seat. Wouldn't look at me. "Marcus, talk to me." He let out a long breath. "About a year after you deployed, Sarah got a letter. Official military letter. Said you'd been killed in action. Hostile fire. There was a whole ceremony. Military funeral. Folded flag. 21-gun salute. Everything." My chest felt tight. "But I wasn't dead." "We know that now. But the letter was real, David. Official Department of Defense letterhead. Signed by a commanding officer. We had no reason to doubt it. Someone declared me dead while I was still alive? That's what it looks like." "Who? Who signed the letter?" Marcus pulled out his phone. Started scrolling through something. "After you called, I did some digging. I still have the letter at Mom's house. The officer who signed your death notification was Captain James Wheeler." The name hit me like a punch to the gut. Wheeler. James Wheeler. Sarah's ex-boyfriend from college. The guy who'd proposed to her before I did. The guy who'd enlisted a year before me. The guy who'd shown up at our wedding and told Sarah she was making the biggest mistake of her life. "He's stationed at the same base you were deployed to," Marcus continued. "Administrative Division. He has access to personnel files, death certificates, casualty notifications. Everything. My hands clenched into fists. He declared me dead so he could have Sarah back. Marcus nodded slowly. That's what I'm thinking. And it worked. About 6 months after the funeral, Sarah started dating again. Some finance guy named Robert. They got married last October. Small ceremony. Mom didn't even go. I leaned back against the seat, stared at the roof of the truck. She didn't even wait a year. She thought you were dead, man. She grieved. We all did. I spoke at your funeral. Mom couldn't even get through it without breaking down. But I wasn't dead. And Wheeler knew that. He knew exactly where I was. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. But Wheeler doesn't get away with this. I spent that night at Marcus's apartment. Couldn't sleep. Just lay on his couch staring at the ceiling, thinking about Sarah's face when she looked at me like a stranger. The way she'd stepped back, called me a threat, protected another man. The next morning, I called the base. I need to speak to Captain James Wheeler. Administrative Division. May I ask what this is regarding? Tell him it's Sergeant David Morrison. Back from the dead. There was a pause. Please hold. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Wheeler's voice came through, calm and smooth. Morrison, I heard you were stateside. Welcome home. You declared me Kia? That's unfortunate. Must have been a paperwork error. You know how chaotic things get in active combat zones. I'm glad to see you made it home safe. Paperwork error? You signed the death certificate yourself. Sent the letter to my wife. She buried me. Wheeler. Silence. Then his voice changed. Colder. I don't know what you're implying, but I suggest you be very careful about making accusations against a superior officer. I'm implying you wanted my wife. So you made me disappear. He laughed. Actually laughed. That's a serious accusation, Morrison. And you don't have a shred of proof. Sarah moved on because she thought you were dead. That's not my fault. You made her think I was dead. Prove it. I will. I hung up. Marcus's friend Jake worked at the VA office downtown. Got me access to my personnel file the next day. Everything was there. My deployment records. My service history. Commendations. And buried deep in the file was the death certificate Wheeler had filed. Killed in action. Hostile fire. Body recovered. Except my body was never recovered because I wasn't dead. But there was something else. Something that made my blood run cold. An amendment to the file. Dated 2 weeks ago, right before I was scheduled to return stateside. Someone had tried to delete the death certificate from the system. Tried to erase the evidence. But military systems keep backups of everything. Every change leaves a digital trail. I printed it all. The original death certificate. The deletion attempt. Wheeler's digital signature on both documents. Then I called a military lawyer. Jake recommended someone, Captain Lisa Chun. She specialized in fraud cases and had a reputation for being ruthless. We met at a coffee shop near the base. Chun was maybe 35, sharp eyes, no-nonsense expression. She reviewed the documents I'd brought without saying a word for 10 minutes. Finally, she looked up. This is fraud. Falsifying military records. Fraudulent death notification. If we can prove intent, Wheeler's looking at prison time. Dishonorable discharge at minimum. Can you prove intent? Did Wheeler know your wife before this? They dated in college for 2 years. He proposed. She said no. Met me a year later. He was at our wedding. Told her she was making a mistake marrying me. Chin smiled. Not a friendly smile. A predator's smile. Then yes, we can prove intent. Intent plus opportunity plus motive. Wheeler had all three. That's a case. How long? Give me 3 weeks. I'll need to pull records, interview witnesses, build the timeline. But Morrison? We're going to bury him. The investigation took 3 weeks exactly. During that time, I stayed away from Sarah. Let her believe I was some crazy imposter. Let Wheeler think he'd gotten away with it. But Chun was building a case like a fortress. She found emails between Wheeler and Sarah, sent during my deployment. Nothing romantic, just Wheeler checking in, offering support, being a shoulder to cry on. I know David would want someone looking after you. She found Wheeler's base access logs. He'd pulled my personnel file 17 times in the year before he filed the death certificate. No legitimate reason. Just looking, monitoring, waiting. She found the deletion attempt traced directly back to Wheeler's account. He'd tried to cover his tracks 2 weeks before my scheduled return. And then she found the smoking gun. A text message Wheeler sent to a friend 3 days after filing my death certificate. Problem solved. Morrison's out of the picture for good. Time to make my move. Chin called me on a Tuesday afternoon. We have him. I'm filing charges with JAG today. Military tribunal in 2 weeks. Morrison, we're going to destroy him. The hearing was held in a conference room at the base. Military tribunal. 3 officers on the panel. Closed to the public, but open to witnesses and family. Sarah was there, sitting in the back row with Robert. She still wouldn't look at me, just stared at her hands. Wheeler sat at the defendant's table in his dress uniform, confident, smiling, like this was all just a formality. Chin stood up, navy suit, hair pulled back, all business. The United States Army charges Captain James Wheeler with fraud, falsification of military records, and conduct unbecoming an officer. The evidence will show that Captain Wheeler deliberately and maliciously declared a living soldier killed in action for personal gain. Wheeler's lawyer stood up. Some captain I didn't recognize. The defense will show this was an honest mistake made during the chaos of war. Nothing more. Chin started with the timeline. My deployment. Wheeler's assignment to the same base. The death certificate filed while I was on active patrol, very much alive. Then she brought out the emails. Captain Wheeler maintained regular contact with Mrs. Morrison during her husband's deployment. He positioned himself as a family friend, a support system, someone she could trust. She pulled up the emails on a screen. I'm here if you need anything, Sarah. I know how hard this is. David would want you to be happy. Don't forget that. You deserve someone who's actually present in your life. The room was silent. Then Chin showed Wheeler's access logs. Captain Wheeler accessed Sergeant Morrison's personnel file 17 times over 11 months. There was no operational reason for this access. He was monitoring Morrison's status, waiting for an opportunity. Wheeler's lawyer objected. Speculation. It's not speculation when we have this. Chin pulled up the text message on the screen. Big. Clear. Impossible to deny. Problem solved. Morrison's out of the picture for good. Time to make my move. The room went dead silent. Sarah gasped. Actually gasped. I heard it from 3 rows back. Wheeler's face went red. That was taken out of context. What context? Chin turned to face him. What possible context makes this acceptable? You declared a living soldier dead. You sent his wife a death notification. You attended his funeral. And 3 days later, you texted a friend saying the problem was solved. She turned back to the panel. This wasn't a mistake. This was calculated. This was malicious. Captain Wheeler saw an opportunity to eliminate a romantic rival, and he took it. He used his position, his access, and his authority to commit fraud, to destroy a marriage, to steal another man's life. Wheeler stood up. That's not what happened. I thought he was dead. The reports said. What reports? Chin's voice was sharp. Show me the reports that said Sergeant Morrison was Kia. Show me the body recovery documentation. Show me anything that supports your claim. Wheeler sat back down. His lawyer whispered something to him. Chin wasn't done. And when Sergeant Morrison was scheduled to return home, Captain Wheeler attempted to delete the death certificate from the system, to erase the evidence of his crime. But he failed, because the military keeps records of everything. She pulled up the deletion attempt. Wheeler's login. Wheeler's timestamp. Wheeler's digital signature. Captain Wheeler didn't make a mistake. He committed a crime. A deliberate, premeditated crime. And he needs to be held accountable. The panel deliberated for 53 minutes. When they returned, the lead officer stood. Silver hair. Hard eyes. The kind of man who'd seen everything. Captain James Wheeler. This panel has reviewed the evidence presented. We find the evidence compelling and credible. Wheeler's face went pale. This panel finds you guilty of fraud under Article 132 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Guilty of falsification of official documents. Guilty of conduct unbecoming an officer and a gentleman. Wheeler started to stand. His lawyer pulled him back down. You are hereby sentenced to 5 years confinement at the United States Disciplinary Barracks at Fort Leavenworth. You are dishonorably discharged from the United States Army effective immediately. All rank, pay, and benefits are forfeited. You will pay restitution to Sergeant Morrison in the amount of $50,000 for emotional and financial damages. Wheeler shot up from his chair. This is bullshit. You can't. Sit down, Captain, the officer said coldly. Or should I say, Mr. Wheeler, you are no longer an officer. You're a convict, and you earned every second of that sentence. 2 MPs stepped forward, put Wheeler in handcuffs. He looked at me as they led him past. Hate in his eyes. Pure hate. I didn't look away. Outside the hearing room, Sarah was waiting by the door. Her face was pale, eyes red. She'd been crying. David. I stopped, looked at her. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't know. I thought you were dead. I thought. I know. The funeral was real. The letter was official. I had no reason to doubt it. I know that too. She wiped her eyes. Robert and I, we got married because I was lonely, because I needed someone. But if I'd known you were alive, would you have waited? She didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because we both knew the truth. She'd moved on in 6 months. 6 months from burying me to dating someone new. I'm filing for divorce, she said quietly. From Robert. It's not fair to him. I married him under false pretenses. And us. She looked at me. Really looked at me. I don't know who you are anymore, David. You look like my husband, but 3 years is a long time. We're different people now. I nodded. Yeah, we are. I'm sorry. For everything. Me too. I walked past her. Didn't look back. Marcus was waiting by his truck in the parking lot. How do you feel? He asked. Like I survived a war just to lose everything that mattered. Wheeler's going to prison. 5 years. Dishonorable discharge. That's something. It's not enough. But it's all I'm going to get. 6 months later, the divorce from Sarah was final. She kept the house. Kept Robert. Kept the life she'd built while I was gone. Wheeler was in Leavenworth. 5 years. Career destroyed. Life ruined. And me? I moved 2 states away. Got a job as a contractor. Started over from nothing. Sometimes Sarah texts me. Long messages. Apologizing. Explaining. Asking if we can talk. If there's any chance. I never respond. Because some betrayals you don't come back from. She'd buried me. Mourned me. Replaced me in 6 months.